Okay. Alright, I think we're good. Welcome back. I'm sorry, my mic is like doing some crazy crap. So it's like, I don't know, there's like some random feedback that keeps happening with it. I don't really understand why it's doing that. I'm not sure how to stop it. I basically have like a gate in place to kind of like cut down on the frequency, but it does create like a slight, almost like white noise type sound. So this is like the best I'll be able to do for now with my mic. So also, sorry people's notifications were going off earlier. I was trying to test it. I'm actually glad I did because there were a couple issues I was having with just audio and everything. So let me go ahead and switch over. Welcome to Mental Health Fridays, our cool down stream that we're going to be doing every single Friday, where I do some coloring because I cannot draw and we talk about mental health. So basically it'll be about like different topics each time. The last time I did one on borderline personality disorder, which is a mood disorder that I have been diagnosed with it. And today's stream is going to be about clinical depression, or it's also known as major depressive disorder. So we will talk about that. And I actually have quite a bit. It was extensive. It was like a lot more information that I like got on it, and just like my overall symptoms that I kind of really didn't like think much about. It's just like there are so many symptoms, and like some of them kind of tie into BPD, but there are some that are a little bit more kind of like unique to it, but they do kind of work hand in hand. They're both mood disorders, which is unfortunate for me because it's really a nightmare. But we'll do exactly what we did last time, like have it like educational for around about an hour, and then chat if anyone is wanting to chat or say anything or ask questions. That is completely fine. We have a little bit more of a secure like chat again, or at least the rules and things like that. So I just do that to kind of like basically make it as more of like a safe space as I possibly can. So like those extra rules and things are just in place for just like these streams. So let me just get right into it. So clinical depression, or major depressive disorder, is a mood disorder that causes a persistent feeling of sadness and a loss of interest. So it's also called major depressive disorder, clinical depression. It affects how you feel, think, and behave, and can lead to a variety of emotional and physical problems. So it's another mood disorder, like I mentioned before. It's another one that you can't cure, but they have like methods of like therapy and meds that can help you. I'll get into that a little bit later. There's like so many symptoms. Again, kind of like the last stream that I did with borderline personality disorder, this is solely my experience. I'm not like, these streams are just to kind of bring awareness. I'm not speaking for the entire community, just for myself, and just like going over like what it is for me, like what I go through on a daily basis. So different people have different symptoms and different like side effects and things like that, and some people do therapy, sometimes it doesn't work for them. Some people do meds, some people do neither. So I mean, there's a variety of like different ways depression can affect people, but it's one of the more common like mood disorders. Like it's like millions of people have depression in some way, shape, or form, or some people will even experience it in their lifetime. Like if you lose a pet, or if you have like something happen, maybe relationship wise, there's like so many different things that can bring on depression. For some people, it is like what I kind of like call situational depression. It will come based off of like usually like something traumatic happening, but you know, after they have it for a bit of time, it will disappear, and they'll be able to lead a pretty, like, they'll be able to go back to normal, so like they don't have to worry about like dealing with it again. Like, it'll come for that season and then it'll leave and they can go back to being neurotypical. But for people with clinical depression like me, I'm depressed always. There isn't, like, my life is, like, right now the best that it has been, like the best that it has ever been so far, and I still feel like suicidal and still have like a lot of negative thoughts and still loss of interest in like things that I enjoy. So like my depression is year round. It does not go away. It's something that has been constant. I've had it honestly ever since I was 12. Like, that's when the symptoms really started. Like, I felt suicidal when I was 12, and then 13 was when it really kind of like got way worse. I like slept away the majority of my life and like my teens and everything because it was that bad. But for me, it's something that is pretty much here to stay. I would say it's, you know, it's almost been like 20 years that I've had it and been dealing with it. So it's definitely a lot more permanent than anything. So for my symptoms, I'm going to read the list and then I'll go over each in a little bit more detail that I have. And there are a lot. So my symptoms are extreme fatigue, overeating, oversleeping, irritability, wanting to isolate, memory loss, poor memory, like having a hard time remembering what I did like last week or even like a couple days ago, being suicidal, self-harm with like cutting, loss of interest in activities, constant negative thoughts, excessive crying. Now, not everything from the list I have right now. Some of it was kind of like stuff that I dealt with in my teens. So like I don't self-harm anymore, I don't cut anymore, thank God. So that was just like back in my teens. Overeating was also during that time. I eat like a normal appetite now. I've lost a lot of weight in a good way, like over time, in a healthy way. So like I'm good with like food. I used to eat a lot just to kind of escape my problems, but not so much anymore. So I'm gonna go down the list and then I'll just say, I'll make sure to mention if it's something I still deal with or something that was in the past, like that's not really a problem now. So the first one is extreme fatigue. That's something I am dealing with all of the time. It does not go away. Every day I'm like super tired to the point to where it's like I could sleep for 12 hours and then wake up, be active for maybe like an hour or two, and then feel like I need to nap for another 6 hours. It's just like, that's probably the one thing that's really like the worst for me is the fatigue, because it's constant. Like there's no real like escape from it. It's just like all the time. And of course with like work and stuff like that, it makes it hard because if I have to go to work and like be up early or like work 8-hour shifts, it's really hard for me too, because then I get like very, very tired. Like my energy would be like, so typically like people will start off with maybe like the average person, like someone without like any type of mood disorder or depression. They're gonna start off with like maybe like 90% energy, sometimes maybe 100 or sometimes 80 if they have like bad sleep that night. For me, my energy basically starts off at 50%, sometimes 40, and then in my worst case scenarios, when I'm like very, very, very fatigued, like extremely fatigued, I'll be at like 30%. And then having to try to function throughout the rest of the day with no nap or anything like that is extremely difficult. So it's just like the fatigue is just insane. And then there's like something as well, it's called like, it's spoon theory. So basically what it is like everyone starts out like a certain amount of spoons, like you have a very limited amount. So say like a healthy person would have 12 spoons. If you have like disorders, then you could start off with like 3 or 4. And then like certain activities, like say taking a shower or shopping or working, take like a certain number of spoons. And there is like a way to where you can go into like negative spoons, meaning you overexhaust your energy and you kind of start taking away from the energy you have for the next day. And yeah, that totally happens to me, to the point to where if I'm like overexerting myself, then I'll have to sleep for several days. Sometimes it'll be like a day behind, other times it'll be 3 days. It could be like sometimes in the worst case, I'll be bedridden for a week, like just waking up to use the bathroom real quick, getting something to eat, and then just going back to bed, just sleeping, like just basically being in my room that whole time. My joints start to hurt and everything because of the inactivity, but like there's no way for me to like stop that. It's just something where I have to you just have this compulsive need to sleep. Like there isn't a way to get past it. You know, trying to force myself out of bed doesn't help. It doesn't do anything. It's just this need to just sleep. And it sucks because like, of course, I can't do anything. Like I can't be productive. I can't do anything fun or go anywhere. Like I just feel so tired. Like I haven't slept at all. So like I'm constantly like in bed, sleeping, missing out on things, not able to do much of anything. It's terrible. Like that's the one thing that I hate the most. The medicine does help a bit, but I still feel like extremely exhausted. So let's go for the next one is overeating. Now, like I said, that one is a symptom where that was like in the past, like in my teen years. I used to eat as kind of like a way to cope with feelings and stuff. So I use food as kind of like an escape. And because paired with all of the sleeping and everything like that, like the excessive sleeping like 12 hours a day, sometimes 16 or something like that, then I gained weight. So like I was like very overweight for a time. And even though I was active and stuff like that, I still like had a good amount of weight, because I used to just like, of course when you're eating more calories than your body can burn, it just like it'll convert into fat. So even though I was like active and banned and things like that, I still gained like extra weight, and I ate like a lot of like just junk food, like feel good foods, to kind of just escape from like certain problems and feelings that I was dealing with. And at that time too, I was still going through like, I had like BPD that was like around when I was like 16, and I noticed that's when it like really was like the most intense. And I kind of looked it up online and realized like all the symptoms that they had there were like definitely me. So like I had an idea before I was diagnosed, like formally at age 21, like I knew that I had like possibly major depressive disorder and BPD just from like research and everything, and I was right. So now I don't have to worry about that. I've lost weight. I eat very healthy. I'm conscious of like what I eat as far as like salt, calories, fat, and things like that. I don't like, it's not like an eating disorder. Like I don't feel like I go overboard. I'm just like more mindful of what I eat. I don't eat just to eat, like if I'm bored. So that definitely like helped me shed weight. And then I play Beat Saber too. So those games, and even Element Assassin, because of all the squats and everything, that really helped me. So I've lost like weight. I'm healthy now. I have like a lot more muscle and things like that. So the overeating isn't an issue anymore. I got through that. Okay, so I already went over like oversleeping, so I'm not gonna go into that again, but basically just sleeping like 12 to 16 hours a day, and it's still not being really enough. You know, waking up for like a couple hours and then going right back to sleep. So the next one is irritability, and that's kind of like, there's not too much to say about it. It's mainly just like, I just get like to the point to where little things kind of like irritate me, and I'm like, it's basically like being grumpy. So that's about it for irritability. I mean, it kind of comes and goes, but it's the worst when I'm like feeling very tired, or if I kind of want to isolate and stay alone, then like people talking to me and being close to me or something like that just like irritates me. But it's not really that bad. It's just something that is kind of the case occasionally, mainly when I don't get enough sleep. So I already went over wanting to isolate in BPD. It's basically just not wanting to have much to do with other people, just staying in my room, staying to myself, not engaging with people. I mean, it's just like when I feel that terrible, I feel tired, when I'm like just in that just like tired, irritable type of like emotion, feeling, symptoms, and it's like I don't really want to be around people like that. I just rather stay to myself. This is starting to look like, this is like really like abstract with the colors. I like this though. Okay. So the other one is memory loss and poor memory, and a lot of people kind of like don't realize that like depression and stuff like that can cause like, it can mess with your memory. And like my long-term memory is terrible. I don't really remember much of anything. I had like some journals and stuff from when I was like younger and everything, and there are like certain things to where it's like if I didn't write it down, I wouldn't have been able to remember what happened. Like I don't really remember much about like my life and stuff in general. There are some things I remember, but not that much. I couldn't tell you what I did like 3 days ago. It's like sometimes I can be able to like kind of figure it out if I like really think hard about it, but I couldn't tell you. And people at work would always like ask me, they would be like, so what did you do like for the weekend, what did you do? And I couldn't tell them. I'd be like, I don't remember. And they would laugh, but like it was actually like, it's a legit problem. I don't remember like really much of anything at all. Can't remember what I did a couple days ago, can't remember what I did a week ago. Like unless something major happened, I'm not gonna remember it. So like my memory is absolutely terrible. And there are some times when I like, even in my streams, there were like times where I either said something like, all right, I'm gonna go do this now, and then like a couple seconds later I'm like, wait, what did I say I was gonna do? Or like I had like, it's bad. My memory is absolutely terrible, and it's because of like depression and everything. So I mean, I don't worry about it too much, because it's just kind of like I'll just live in the moment more so. Spend enough time worried about the past. I'm just like, I mean, it really doesn't matter to me that much. It still sucks because there are like certain things that I need to remember and I can't. It's just like having bad memory. I'm kind of used to it now, but it sucks. Okay, so okay, I'm not gonna go into a lot of depth with feeling suicidal, like as far as like the trauma aspect of it or just like why. But basically it's just like not wanting to live anymore, maybe even having like ideations, like you think about dying or you think about like plans, sometimes you carry them out. I mean, everyone knows what that is in terms of like, you know, but I'm usually like, it's not, there's a lot to be said about that, honestly. Because like, one, it's a sensitive topic, so like I'm not going to go into like too much detail of my own experiences on that, because that would be like, you know, I don't know. I just don't want to go into too much detail with it. But at the same time, it's like, I guess it's like trying to find like, I don't know. I don't really know. Because it's like, it is a symptom and it's not, okay, I'll talk about it in the symptom way of things. So with clinical depression, like, and just with like depression that's basically like permanent rather than it being something that goes away over time, it doesn't, because usually for most people when they feel suicidal, it's because something happened or something has been happening for a while. So it could be like past trauma, or like maybe they lost someone dear to them, or it can be like a bunch of different reasons. But usually it happens to people when they have gone through too much emotionally, or that, you know, their situation is like terrible. It's usually when a bunch of bad things happen and people just don't have the energy to cope with it anymore. So they start getting to a point to where they wish they were dead, or where they want to harm themselves. For me, it can be a mixture of that, but then it's also just because I have low serotonin. So it's just like right now, like I said, my life has been the best it's ever been. I have a way better relationship with my parents now. Me and my sister have a really good relationship. Like I have a good amount of friends. I've accomplished a good amount of things as far as work and just like being able to stream and like just like a bunch of different things. My life is really like way more secure than what it's been emotionally. Like I've worked through a lot of trauma and things that used to hold me back and that used to like bring me down. So there's really no reason, like besides the disorder, there's no reason like I should feel depressed at all. I'm the healthiest I've been in a very long time. I've, been eating good food, I lost some weight. So it's like everything, like I should be happy. There shouldn't be any depression, but I still am depressed and I still feel suicidal still. So it's like, it doesn't matter what I do as far as like diet, exercise, how my life is like situation wise, I'm always depressed and I'll always still feel suicidal sometimes. It's a lot less when things are going better though than when they're not, but it's like a constant thing for me. And not getting into like too much detail, but yeah, I have been hospitalized before for attempting, and then most recently I was just all over the place like emotionally, so I ended up going to a program to where it was just like, it was intensive therapy. It was like group therapy for 6 hours a day for 2 weeks. That definitely got me back on track, but like it's been a constant thing. Like I've experienced feeling suicidal ever since I was like 12 was when it started. 12 was when I actually like told my mom that like I didn't want to be here anymore and that I was, feeling suicidal, and it pretty much has been like a constant thing in my life, on and off, more so now, like not as bad, but in my teens it was like every day. It was terrible. So another thing that is also kind of like rough to talk about is self-harm. Basically, like in the past, I did like a lot of like cutting and stuff like that. Self-harm can be a bunch of different things too. It could be smoking, it could be like anything destructive that like hurts you. And even if it feels like good for you at that point, it could still be like harmful. Like some people do things that are like risky, like it could be sexual, it could just be like maybe just like risk taking, like doing things that are like extreme that could put your life in harm's way, but it's like you do it for either the thrill or like you hope that you die, like things like that, to where it's like you do stuff knowingly that can harm you, and usually it's like unhealthy. It's like an unhealthy coping mechanism. The good thing is now I haven't cut in like so many years, so like I don't deal with like self-harm like that anymore. So it's like I just have like a bunch of scars, but other than that, it's like I don't actively hurt myself, which is good. I usually have like other ways of dealing with it now, because a lot of it was more of like internalized pain. Self-harm is also another thing that people don't really understand, especially if they're not like depressed and haven't had that urge. Basically for me, it's been like things that have been like internalized that I felt I couldn't get out. It was like, just a bunch of emotions that I kind of shoved down. So like as a way to kind of like relieve myself and also get out like that pain in like a physical way, but without hurting other people, then it's like you take it out on yourself. So there's a lot of different reasons why people self-harm and things like that. If you know someone who does, just know that it's because they're in like extreme emotional pain, and there's probably some trauma they haven't been able to work through or even really like approach. Try not to be judgmental, just be as supportive as you can for them, because I mean they know that it's not a good thing. Like people who self-harm, it's not like we run around and we're like this is the best way to handle these emotional issues, but it's like it's just something, it's a weird thing to explain, but it's something that's like you feel like you have to do when you have a lot of things internally that you can't get out, but you want to get them out in a destructive way without hurting others. So it's very complicated. Like it's a lot more complex than just simply someone just doing it. Just there's more to it than just someone doing it just because they're like, I don't know. I don't know the word I want to use, but yeah, with like suicidal like ideation or tendencies, or people like making plans and then self-harm, those are like the two most misunderstood things about like major depressive disorder, because like there's a lot of stigma behind it too, but it's a deeper reason. It's always like deeper than just one thing, and that's kind of how people act like it is. Like if someone's suicidal, it's just because of one thing that happened. It's usually many things that led up to that point, and they haven't been able to truly heal, and their resiliency is either low or honestly disappeared from that point, because as human beings, we only have but so much strength. So just be mindful for that, that if someone's self-harming or if someone's suicidal, it's not just from one thing. It's not like, oh no, I dropped my ice cream on the floor, I'm gonna kill myself. It's been like usually years and years and years of pain and trauma that have built up, and just things continually going wrong, and also like negative thoughts and things that prevent you from seeing the good in life. Because even though I've had a lot of bad things that happen, there are a lot of good things and there are positives. But like when you have depression, you only really see the negatives in vibrant detail. So there's a lot more going on. It's not just one thing that pushes someone to those points, it's many. So the last three here I have are loss of interest in activities. And yes, I have like a lot of things that I like to do, like video games, playing instruments, writing. I like write poems and stuff. I was journaling for a time. I had like fantasy books and things that I was doing. I had like a series for a time that I worked on that was fun. I got to like the third book, but I didn't complete it. But I enjoy like writing and like doing things like that. But with depression, I pretty much stopped like playing instruments. I stopped playing piano, which was what I really had fun with for a time. Really didn't play video games. I didn't really do much of anything because nothing gave me that pleasure anymore. It's like you just like, I think it mainly came from me not being able to really like experience emotions for a time because of like all of the stuff that I had. It just kind of built up. It made it to where like I just like, it was just like I was just numb. Like there wasn't anything that I enjoyed, period. Like of course when you do things you love, you get like a certain kind of like feeling. Your brain like releases like those like feel good chemicals. It makes you like feel happy, alive. Like it's a really positive experience, but you lose that. And like it's been on and off for me, because like I'll have periods, like right now I'm able to do things that I love more so and actually enjoy them. But like I'm on meds. Back in the day when I was not, I wasn't able to really enjoy much of anything, and if I did, it kind of left. It didn't stay for that long. So like I played piano for a while, but then I stopped. So now I'm back to being rusty again. But yeah, it's just basically the things that you love to do, you just like, it's crazy because it's like things you're passionate about, like things that you really love to do. Like it's one of the reasons that like you enjoy living life just become like, I could live without that. It's like the complete opposite, and it's terrible. Because like passions are a good outlet, especially like passions that are of course like healthy and like good, like music, art, drawing, playing video games, going for a walk, maybe like, you know, just a bunch of different things that you enjoy. Without those, it makes life even more dull. Like you already have to deal with negativity on a daily basis, and then now you can't even enjoy the things that you were passionate about now, because they don't have any sort of like, you don't feel anything when you do them, and they seem more like a chore now. Like now for me, it's not something that I have to worry about as much, because now I'm taking medicine. It's like my interest in things like that, I'm starting to be able to have, they're starting to come back. So it's just always annoying, because then when I go through that, it'll last sometimes for years. So like any progress I made, say on like piano and stuff like that, is going to be kind of like almost lost. Like you have to kind of get back into it, and like you're a bit rusty, and it's like, it's really annoying. But the good thing is that they're back. My passion and just like my overall like good feelings that I have doing certain things, especially like hanging out with people, because I stayed away from people for a while. So I'm glad that that's finally back. Okay, so the next one is constant negative thoughts. This was the worst when I was not on meds. It was just like, the best way to describe it is like, it's almost like white noise. You know, if you have like a TV on in a room and it's just white noise, like there's nothing on the channel, you hear it. If it stays on for long enough, you get used to it, but it is noise in the background. That's how it is. But it's like a constant flow of just like negative energy and negative thoughts. Like, it does not go away. You get used to it because it's like, you hear it all the time, but it's just like non-stop negativity. It's terrible. So with meds, it pretty much just like cut that out. My mind is like quiet on meds. It makes like a huge difference. It's not to where like I have to like constantly hear like negativity, negative voices, negative emotions. My brain is like quiet, and I can just live like in the like present versus feeling like I'm going on all of these like going down all these rabbit holes of just like negativity and feeling sorry for myself, reliving like dramatic events. So like medicine has like definitely helped me. It's improved a lot. It's also made it so that I'm more social. I'm not isolating as much because I don't feel nearly as bad. So that's like the main thing that really brings me down, is just the constant negativity. I mean, it would for anyone. And it's healthy to have like some things that, you know, like negativity and positivity, there should be a balance. If you just have like only positivity all the time, that can also be toxic. There's a balance to like both. And so like with depression, there isn't that balance. It's very one-sided. It's like only negative and maybe like teeny tiny bit of positive, but not much. So when you're constantly living in just like straight up negativity all the time, you forget like the good things that have happened, and then it makes it feel like your life is just nothing but like misery. So that's another reason why it like contributes to like feeling suicidal overall. So it's like now with meds I can be like a little bit more positive, and also I've worked on it. It's not something that just kind of like happened to me. It's something that you have to like actively work at to increase positive thoughts and thinking, because it's so easy to be negative and just allow myself to go down like that path of just like absolute negativity without any positive. It's really easy to do. But over the years, and I've taken my time to make sure that like I've done everything that I can to kind of like, I would start off like thinking about like the silver lining to something. So if something happened, instead of it being all bad, it's like, well, at least, you know, this is still the case, or at least this is still good. It started off small, but like over a couple of years, you can like develop like newer pathways in your brain that will help you be able to be more positive rather than negative. It like has to do with like kind of like rewiring your brain. So like it can take like years, especially if you've been in negativity for so long. It's not like a quick fix type deal. It can take a while, but it's like an active thing that you participate in, and once when you can finally start thinking positive, that's your new default. So it took me a while before I was able to like truly be a lot more positive. And it's definitely like paid off. Like now, life is a lot better. Instead of always seeing everything as being like negative and horrible, there's like plenty of good things too. And there's plenty of time to like feel upset or angry about certain things, but when your life is like constantly like that, like that's all you see, it really like messes you up, and it just makes things so much more difficult for you. And so the last symptom that I have is excessive crying. Gosh, I cried myself to sleep for years and years. It was like all of my teens. It was just like for a bunch of different reasons, but like I cried myself to sleep for years. Like I kind of wish sometimes like there was like a way at like say like the end of your life to be able to see like how many tears you've cried, because I know it has been like probably filled like an entire like swimming pool at this point with tears. I mean, I have, oh my gosh, I've cried like a lot. It was mainly just because of like I felt like trapped and stuck for a lot of different reasons, but the good thing is like once when I started like I had like a very little bit of therapy in college, and then after when I was hospitalized I also had more therapy, and like that really like kind of like helped me get on the right path to feeling better and approaching a lot of the things that really like held me back and that were like bringing me down at that time. So it took years for me to like work through a lot of like the trauma and stuff of the abuse that I'd gone through, but I got through it, and because of that I was able to stop living in the past so much. So that really helped. I was able to actually like be present and like not be held back by the things that happened to me. I was able to move forward. So that in itself eliminated a lot of like the tears and the crying now. Like I only cry sometimes just to get out emotions that are intense, and it's mainly because of BPD. My emotions will be like over the top, and instead of like allowing myself to kind of like hold in those emotions, then I usually will end up just like crying. Usually it's like sobbing crying, but that's like the best way for me to get out my emotions. And crying is healthy. I mean, it doesn't matter what your gender is. Humans, like, crying is like a human thing, and it definitely helps purge a lot of like negativity, and like it's really healing to be able to cry. Okay. So that is all of my symptoms for major depressive disorder. It is a lot. And I already went over too, like, that treatment. There is no cure for it. However, it depends on the depression you have. If it's just like something that you're going through temporarily because of like something that happened to you, you can go on meds if you need to. Some people like eat healthy, like they'll go to like healthier alternatives, like they'll take supplements, they'll get more sunlight, because vitamin D does help, but I mean it doesn't cure depression. It can just make it a little bit easier to deal with. Sometimes like there's different things that work for different people. So for some people they might just need a little extra sunlight. Me, I need a lot more. Like I actually need like pharmaceutical help, like actual meds, which is fine. It depends on the person and what works for you. But there's like a bunch of different approaches that can help, but it's mainly usually like therapy and meds are like the top two, and meds can be pharmaceutical or like homeopathic, all natural. And oh yeah, medicines that I was on, it can sometimes also, when you go the medicated route, it can take a while for them to truly find something that works for you. Sometimes you can have one that works for you like the first one you try. There's a lot of like, it depends on what you get like medicated with. I've only needed to have like SSRIs, so like basically they're medications that like they take like 4 to 6 weeks before they're fully like effective. Like they build up in your system over time, so they're the easiest to get on and easier to like get off of, because like, or if you like, for some of these medications, if you miss a dose, it'll really screw you up. With just like with Zoloft is the one that I'm on. But with Zoloft, if I miss one, it's not going to hurt me at all. Like it's something that builds up over time, so if you miss like a dose or two, it really isn't going to be a huge problem. Obviously you don't want to just stop taking your medications. You should taper off of them and speak with your doctor about it. Yeah, I totally in the past just decided to stop, and I think that's what ended up like putting me in partial and needing help, because I decided to stop taking my meds, and you end up crashing when you do that, and yeah, it can be really bad. So I definitely would never ever recommend that. If you want to get off your meds, or if you want to take a break or try something new, always talk to your doctor. But for me, I take 50 milligrams of Zoloft daily. It's in the morning. It gives me like a good amount of energy. So if I take it at night, it keeps me awake. So I have to take it during the day. So I try to take it like 9 a.m. That's like a good time. So that way it doesn't affect my sleep. And then I get like the full kind of like effects with it during like the full range of the day. And then I was also on a time on bupropion, which helped with like energy more so. Probably gonna see if I can get back on that again. Like I have some pills and stuff, but I need to talk to my doctor first, be able to see if it's okay for me to be able to just start taking it again. And that I take once every 24 hours. I also take that in the morning with my Zoloft. So yeah, it's like 150 milligrams of that. It's like bupropion SR, 150 milligram tablet. You take it every 24 hours, and then the same with my Zoloft. But there are so many different medications, you might have to try a couple before you figure out what works for you, and some of them have like very bad side effects. So like if you're thinking about doing medication, or if you're like having a hard time finding one, that can be the case sometimes. Sometimes you have to try a bunch of different ones before you find one that works for you. But usually the ones that have been around for a while, like Prozac, Lexapro, Zoloft, those types of meds are ones that they'll start you on, and then like go from there. But that's if you're on like an SSRI, because they have a bunch of different ones depending on what works for you and what you need. So it can be a little bit of a journey, so don't get discouraged if you try like one or two and they still don't work. There are so many out there now, way more different like treatments available than what there used to be like 10, 20 years ago. So, you know, if you really do want to go the med route, it is worth it. It just might take a little bit for you to find something that works for you. But when you find something that works, oh my gosh, it's like night and day. Like, people can tell. I'm used to being depressed. Like, that's just kind of like my default. I'm used to feeling like negative and being isolated. But like when I take my meds, it's like I don't realize sometimes how big of a difference it is until like I've been off of them and I get back on them. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, geez. It just like, it makes a world of difference. So now instead of me like not staying on my meds and like forgetting to take them, or just overall just quitting them, I'm never going to do that again. I'm going to stay on them, and if I do wish to change them or do something different, then I'm going to talk to my doctor, because yeah, before I didn't do that, and it can cause some serious problems, and it has. So definitely make sure that you get on and off meds by talking to your doctor, and then having them decide for you how, you know, to get off of it. Usually you just kind of like do like a little bit and you ease off of it slowly, so they like taper your dose. You'll take like a little bit lesser for like a certain amount of time, and then all the way until you get back down to not having to take anything at all. And for some people, it can be like very difficult for them to get help because there's a stigma with depression. A lot of people kind of just see depression as being like, kind of like you're a wimp. You can't really handle like life and stuff like that, and like people tell you to either get over it, or they tell you, you know, your problems aren't that bad, or, you know, they minimize how you feel. And just know that like for people that like deal with depression or anything like that, again, it's usually when like a bunch of things have happened to someone's feeling suicidal. It's not just one thing, it's usually a bunch of different things. So it's not just like someone is just like throwing in the towel, like they're just gonna quit. Usually people have been at it for years and they get worn out because it is a lot. So like, I kind of hope in the future that people are way more kind to people with just like mental illnesses in general, because like, it doesn't, so many people die from committing suicide, losing their battle with depression. And a lot of it could have been prevented, like if someone didn't minimize someone's problems and, you know, took them seriously, listened to them, didn't make them feel guilty or bad for basically feeling like vulnerable and weak in the state that they're in. Like, there's so many things that people can be able to do to like help those around them. Like, people shouldn't have to die for people to actually start like talking about what should we do to help people with depression. This needs to happen now when people are alive, so then they get the help they need while they're still breathing, rather than people mourning what they could have done when the person is dead and gone, because at that point there isn't anything anyone can do now, and it's devastating. And I mean, what are you gonna do when someone's dead? You can't bring them back. So there's just like a lot of apathy surrounding mental health. People are just very like ignorant about it, and it leads to a lot of misconceptions. Like, some people think that with depression you can just choose to be happy. You know, you're choosing to be sad, that's why you're depressed. And if you don't choose to be happy, then you're not ever going to be happy, like it's your fault. Mental illnesses aren't something we can choose, and we can't wish ourselves out of them. So any type of disorder, any type of mental illness, it's not something that is an easy fix. It's very complex. It's something that, you know, it's a disorder of the mind. It's something that, you know, you're sick, genuinely sick, just like if you had a cold. You're sick, but it's like for your brain. So it's not something, you know, you can't wish yourself out of cold, even if you're aware of the symptoms you have. Ooh, a pink dragon. Even if you're aware of the symptoms you have, you can't be like, oh, I have a cold, all right. You're choosing to sneeze. Like, you need to stop sneezing, and you need to like tell yourself you're not going to do that. You can't wish yourself out of a sickness. You can be aware of it, but you can't wish yourself to be better. It's the same thing with depression. I'm aware of all my symptoms. I'm aware of how they affect me and how they can affect other people, but being aware of it isn't going to cure me. It's just like that self-awareness to know, like, kind of like what's going on with me and what's going on around me, but it's not going to cure me or anyone else with a disorder. It's not something you choose. It's just unfortunate that it is the case. And with depression, or with a lot of other mental illnesses, there are ways to cope, and there are ways to treat symptoms just to kind of like make it easier for that person to get through life, but it does not cure them. Me taking Zoloft does not cure me. It just helps me be able to better cope with life and be able to live closer to what someone without depression would be able to live like. But I am not cured. If I go to the hospital because I'm suicidal, I am not cured. I'm just more like realigned to where I can be able to go forward a little bit more and longer. But there is so much stigma surrounding it, which is why I want to do these types of like streams and things like that, because mental health is important. And there are a lot of things that people go through like regularly that they minimize so much, to the point where people are running around with like really bad anxiety, and they're just like, oh, you know, I'm just anxious, and they see it as normal, and they don't tell anyone about it because things like that are so stigmatized. We can't even talk about feeling like anxious or feeling sad or feeling like, I mean, there's just so many ways to feel. It shouldn't be like considered wrong or evil if you're feeling extremely stressed out or extremely scared. I mean, it's like, it's not something you can just suck up and get over. It's more than that. So yeah, people keep things to themselves, but also too, it can be very hard to be able to afford mental health care, which is another issue. with just overall, like, I know in the United States, I know other countries have it better. They have like universal health care. Here, mental health treatment is extremely inaccessible. If you're poor, if you do not have insurance, you do not get care unless you end up getting like involuntarily committed because you try to commit suicide or something like that. Other than that, therapy can be very hard to come by. You really can't get like much help at all. And even like employers can just be kind of like very like not understanding of like, say if you need a day off because like your anxiety is bad, or just like mental health in general is like really eating away at you, they don't care. So I mean, there's a lot of like ableism overall when it comes to like mental disabilities and things like that. Since it is like an invisible disability, like some of them are, it's very difficult for like people to even really like validate you or even recognize that you have a problem, because they're just like, you know, you look normal to the eye. They can't see inside of your brain, so they don't see like all of the turmoil and like the struggles that are going on. So you can be smiling and you can learn how to kind of like function in society to appear normal, but behind the scenes and just in your mind, you're not even close. So it can kind of like confuse a lot of people, I guess, because you learn how to fake that you're normal or like typical, but in reality you're not, and you're still like going through it, which is confusing to people because they're like, you know, you look happy, like you look fine, but it's like, you know how to hide your symptoms. Because like if people knew like the amount of things that went on in my mind just like on a daily basis, they wouldn't be able to handle it. Like people who don't have any type of disorder, it would be a lot for them, but it's like, it's something that I've learned how to deal with. So it's rough, it really is. But there are also like, if you're able to, there are like resources and stuff for you. Like when I went to the hospital, mainly because of anxiety, my anxiety was horrible and I wasn't able to eat. I was like throwing up. It was like all types of different things. But I also went there too because I was feeling like suicidal and I had plans, and I knew that I needed help at that point because things were just getting way out of control. They have like, there's in the US, there are like programs, like state programs that you can be able to get into. Like if you're able to get like a caseworker and stuff, they can help you. Like if you go through like agencies and stuff like that, you can be able to get someone for free, and then they can be able to help you. Like with being able to get treatment, therapy, there are places that have like a sliding scale for therapy, so you don't have to worry about paying the entire amount. Like they'll do it based off of your income. So there's actually like way more resources that I didn't realize existed until like I went to the partial program that I was at and got a caseworker, and there's like a lot more things out there they just don't tell you about. And it's different for different states and stuff too, so I mean it's not like necessarily like one like agency or anything. It varies depending on where you are. So the last thing that I'm going to talk about is ways that I cope. And they kind of like, I have a couple that I have from like with BPD, like they also help with that too. Like taking a hot bath. I love like getting products from Lush and things like that. They are so like relaxing. It's like the hot water too just helps your like muscles and everything just to relax, and that in itself will like help you out. Definitely helps me if you're able to take a bath. I mean, some people don't like that. For me, I love it. It's just like a nice way to decompress, and like being in the warm water is like soothing and just like so relaxing. Gosh, what is going on? Okay. Being kind to myself. Basically, like when I have rough days, in the sense where I like need to lay down. If I need rest, if I have to sleep longer, then I sleep longer. Like I don't punish myself or get upset at myself for needing like that extra rest. I'm sick, it is what it is. If I need that rest, then I'm gonna take it even if it is annoying, instead of like telling myself like I need to get up or trying to force myself to be productive if I really am not able to. Oh no, I turned the dragon around. I'm trying to reach that part. Here we go. Ooh. Okay. So that's one of the things. Because I pushed myself like a lot and that didn't help. That made things worse and landed me in the hospital. So if you can, take it a little bit easier, try to do that. If you can't, then just like try to make sure that you have like time to get yourself together. There's always time. I mean, like, even if it's like you work a lot, there can be like other ways that you kind of like decompress or like can find a way to rest. There's like a bunch of different ways depending on what you have going on. I also thinking positively, challenging my negative thoughts instead of just allowing them to just kind of like run free, run wild in my mind. I've definitely learned like if I'm starting to feel like negative, if I'm starting to feel negatively about myself or just like different circumstances, to see like the positive side of things, to acknowledge that even if there are like negative things going on, that they're, you know, the positives in that situation as well, rather than just focusing solely on everything that's negative. Because there's both. You have good things and you have bad things, and if you just focus solely on one over the other, then especially negativity, you're gonna feel hopeless, you're gonna not feel like you can be able to go on, and it just makes things worse. Drinking tea was also another one that I mentioned, but it was one that helped me with mindfulness. Like, I colored this one. I was able to kind of like just focus on the tea, like the smell of it, the taste, and just like be in that moment with that cup of tea in my hand. It helped me like be more focused in on the present, because in the past, and I used to be like glued to the past. I was constantly like replaying things that happened in my mind like back then and having like regrets and stuff like that. I learned how to be present, but then also like instead of being glued to the past, it was more like I was able to look forward to the future and like be excited for the things that I'll be able to do like coming up. Playing video games, of course. Streaming definitely helps a lot. Writing, another one. I started writing again. I have like poems and everything that I've written. I want to like start. I wrote like a couple more chapters in a book I was working on. It's like a fantasy one. For like the first time in like a long time. I added like, I think it was either 1 or 2 chapters, which was nice, or it was like one really long chapter. But finally have movement on that again. And then I just started writing poems like when I feel depressed and I have like a lot of negative feelings, I started writing poems to kind of like alleviate some of that and like get it out in like an artistic way. I want to turn that into a book too, like something that's kind of like a glimpse into like the mind, or my mind that's like depressed, like the different things that I feel, but like have like that artistic kind of like approach, but still have it be like a little bit raw. So I have that as well. And then talking to friends always helps. I've met like a lot of great people on here, and it has been so much fun. I know I'm going to meet even more people in the future and make even more friends. It's fun like supporting people, hanging out their streams, chilling on Twitter and everything like that. It's so much fun. I love it. So I'm looking forward to like what I'll be able to do with streaming. I mean, when I start working, if I get this job, I probably won't be able to stream much, but the good thing is I'll be able to update like my equipment. So like I'll be able to get a better mic, I'll be able to get a good webcam, I'll be able to hopefully get like a VTuber 2D model. So like I'll have like access to more things that I can do. That'll be fun. And then like I said, like one of the things that's keeping me here is just like the things I want to accomplish while I'm alive. So it's like, even if things like get annoying and rough, then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna just hang around because one, life is short. Two, I want to be able to like accomplish like my dreams and like be able to like tell my story, make an impact, things like that, make more friends. And you can't do that when you're dead, as far as we know. So it's like, I'm gonna hang around as long as I can, and you know, go from there. Just take it a day at a time. Things get rough, try to take it in stride, not overwhelm myself. Try to come up with a plan that works, something that'll be able to keep me going. You have a reason for living, it definitely helps you stay, instead of feeling like, because if you don't have a reason, then it's like you pretty much just feel like you can just throw away your existence at any point, like it's meaningless. And of course, there are plenty of like people in my life who definitely mean a lot to me, like my family, friends, and even though sometimes I don't really feel like it, I do like have worth as a person, rather than just thinking that I'm worthless, I'm not talented or any of that. It can just be rough with having to deal with like depression, BPD, having like 2 mood disorders does not help anyone. Sucks. But at the end of the day, it's just like, I do what I can with what I have, and I'm proud of myself for hanging in there when things have been extremely tough. And even if other people would never say that because they don't really like see everything that I go through, it's like, I know what I went through, so sometimes you kind of have to pat yourself on the back because it's not like other people are gonna do it. So I know I'll get far. It's like, just have to keep going even when things are like terrible. And that will conclude the educational point of my stream, and I'll probably just end up like ending it now. That works for me. And probably like playing Hollow Knight because I really want to. But yeah, before I like end the stream, basically, like, I have Discord that is related to this. You would need an invite to be able to get in, but I have like we have that open. I have my Twitter available, and like there's like a lot of people who like come and they might just stop by and just like leave or whatever. But for anyone who like ever comes by, I'm the type of person where it's like, I like meeting a variety of people. I'm not someone where it's like you could be random, like you could be so random and like I wouldn't judge you at all. Like, I don't, like, you can be yourself. Like, on this channel, like, I've got like friends and stuff like that who are also like, we're all quirky and like all over the place, but like we support each other and we have fun. So like, never be like afraid to like just pop in or say anything, or like, it doesn't have to be like a formal type deal. Like, I just want people, like, when they come to my channel, just be able to relax, just be themselves, and like not have to feel like they're going to be judged or anything like that. Like, just enjoy yourself, relax. You can always like send me a message or something, and ooh, that is so pretty. Wow. But I'm here for like anyone and everyone, especially like with like mental health stuff and things like that. My DMs are always open, my messages are always open, Discord's there, Twitter's there. Like, however, like, if you ever feel like you want to like connect or like talk or anything like that, then it's cool. Like, I'm not mean. I'm like someone who can talk to anyone and enjoy anyone, so never feel afraid to reach out for any reason. I enjoy talking to so many different people, and I hope to make more friends on here. So for tonight, we're gonna end it here. I know I do my streams kind of like at a random time. Like, it's kind of like, it's Friday, so it might not be something to where it's like people are available. I keep changing that color by accident. But like, if you ever like watch the stream and stuff, just know you can like hang out with us on Twitter or Discord. Like, I'm always on, especially Twitter. Like, every day I'm on, like, checking it, posting and things like that. I'm less active there. But like, if you ever want like a friend or someone to talk to, I am here. I'd love to meet more people, make more friends. So I'm just gonna finish this up here and that'll be it for the stream. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for clicking on my video and supporting my content. Even if you lurk and you don't have much to say, that is totally okay. And I'm thankful for just like anyone who decides to give my content a look, because it's awesome being able to see that like people like come across my videos and they view it, even if they don't say anything. If it's just kind of like they just kind of hang out, any type of support is appreciated, whether it's active or in the background like lurking and things like that. Thank you so much, and I will see you guys, because tomorrow isn't going to be I'm not going to stream at all. I have things to do, but I'll come up with my schedule for next week, like Sunday on. I have a lot of things going on next week, including my birthday. I turn 28 on the 10th. That's going to be fun, but I also have things to do in the beginning of the week too, so yeah. And then depending on if I get this job or whatnot, like I have a lot of things going on, so I always like post the schedule. I've been doing a lot better job of it. We're posting it on Discord too. It's like I post on both Discord and Twitter, so like if you're curious to know when I'm going to be streaming next, you will find it on there. So that concludes this cool down stream for our Mental Health Friday, and I hope you guys stay safe and hope you have a good night, good day, depending on where you are, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Take care.